Hi, welcome to my flagship XFC Openbox i3. The video we're making now has to do with the fact that some of these articles need an update, right? An Openbox installation of ArcoLinuxD. I wanted to make clear that these days we have 4 options to install a desktop. Option 1 is actually work with ArcoLinuxD, and the D stands for an ISO, but the D stands for decide. You decide the desktop, another D, right? That's the point of ArcoLinuxD. You start with the ISO, install XFCE, install Openbox, install i3, or any of the others. 20 desktops to install and learn about any of these in the articles. Okay, now as you see there are 4 options. So option 1 is install the desktop using Calamares, using ArcoLinuxD, or install the desktop using R scripts. Third option is install the desktop using ArcoLinuxB. I can show you that as well straight away. The B stands for building. That's something else. You can build your own ISO. Build your own ISO. The flagship, the D version, and all the Bs. 20 desktops to choose from. Right? So it's all about freedom. To build your own ISO means getting rid of Firefox, adding in Vivaldi, getting in Steam, getting in Lutris, getting in Sauerbraten, and so on and so on. You build your own personalized ISO with the desktop you like. In this case, we're talking about Openbox. Right? Follow the tutorial. It's super easy. You'll see. So that's option 3, right? Option 3. Ctrl-Alt-E. If ArcoLinux tool is installed, it's super easy. It's just a click away and any of the 20 desktops will be installed. Super simple, explained in other videos. Install the desktop using our scripts or install the desktop using Calamares. That's what we're going to show you now. So we have VirtualBox ready to clone, to have an ArcoLinuxD, and then add Openbox. We go to ArcoLinuxD, double click it, Ctrl F, right, Ctrl F, and then choose whatever you want. Second line is save graphics, right? If you have problems with graphics, this line doesn't work, use that line. Okay. We put into our system. Not sure if I mentioned, since it's again my 3rd attempt to make the video, not sure I mentioned option 3 in the sense that we can download them, of course, from SourceForge, for example. All these ISOs are just a click away, burn it, boot it. My advice is, guys, VirtualBox is a great thing, but it's just a simulation. So is QEMU, and so is boxes and virtual VMware and all that. Install it on a real metal, a real machine. All right, so we boot up. ArcoLinuxD is here and greets us with a welcome app. It gives us 3 big buttons, so surely, probably, it's going to be important. Update Arch Linux mirrors means, where do you live? Do you have the fastest mirrors around? And normally, at this particular version, I think that's going to be okay. Don't need to touch that. But if you're sure you live in a very remote place in the world and you say, oh no, I always have to update my Arch Linux mirrors, click. Then run gpart. It's an application to clean everything up. If you have lots of partitions and you say, oh my god, it's going to be very complicated. This is not complicated. This is a clean slate. There is nothing on there. It's unallocated. There is no partition, all these colors and divisions and lines. My advice, clean everything out. So select everything, delete everything, apply, and start with a clean slate and from scratch. Okay. So all these options are here. And then of course we run Calamares, which is an open source supplier to write all the data from this ISO on your future system. And we're using this version for future reference. All right. Then it's a lot of choices, freedom to realize that you know already, if I have to install it on this old laptop, I'll need the Linux LTS kernel. It has to do with kernels, and kernels are supporting particular parts of your hardware and sometimes not. And then you get a new kernel in, and ArcoLinux is like that, a lot of kernel updates. And suddenly you say, hey, this is not working anymore, right? Which means downgrade the kernel to a kernel that worked. And you'll see in 2-3 releases later, your software or hardware actually works again with the software, right? So kernels. At this point in time, I would say just stick to the kernel right now, the one you have on the ISO. If you do this, you'll get the latest kernel, which is 7 versions higher, I think, right? Next. What do you want? Bluetooth support, laptop support, and so on. This I would suggest, well, let's talk about versions first of all, so we still know what we're talking about. Option 1, install the desktop using Calamares. Okay, you can always decide to install desktops on Calamares. But first off, before you go into a desktop, there is something as a display manager, as a login manager. And it says, who are you? I am Eric. What's your password? Okay, and then you enter. So that's the light DM. We always select all our ISOs, easy to remember, our light DM. So you know that's gonna work. All the rest is up to you. It will look different and it will not nice and it will need more work. Next, 20 desktops, right? And we have Openbox here, and that's the one we're talking about. An Openbox is a window manager. It's not a desktop. It's not Plasma, right? Plasma is complete, Mate is complete, Cinnamon is complete, XFC is complete. Those are complete desktops. Openbox has the need of a lot of applications to be a functional desktop, and that's what we've done. We've put in, well, 3-4 years of development into Openbox. So that's it basically for the video, how to install ArcoLinuxD Openbox. Now, this is of course the point to decide, hey, I want to have something else as well. Some of the tiling window manager, for example. There's only one advice I would like to give: keep deeping separate from anything else. That's the easiest way to live and survive without frustration. But Openbox, right? And later on, you remember, Ctrl-Alt-E, tweak tool, we can always add another desktop later on. Next. And then it's deciding if you want to have more stuff or that you are going to install them via sudo pacman -s lutris. It's gonna be installed, right? Or Xonotic. Install it with your scripts or just type it. Entirely up to you if you click it or not. Point is, that's important, whenever you click here, it's gonna take a while to download it. 1, do you have a fast internet connection? Or do you have a stable internet connection? Another problem, right? Otherwise, Calamares will just hang and give you an error that there is no internet if internet is disconnected. And then you still need to install all the software. If you do not have a fast SSD or an NVMe and an old hard disk, well, it's gonna take longer. The point is, guys, be patient. Be patient. That's the only thing I can say. It will finish, but it will take its time. Now we have in this version a new way to choose. There's no swap. Take a look at this here. Then we have no hibernate, a small partition, a bigger partition, so you can hibernate, and a swap to file. I'm gonna use the new one, but before I finish everything, I'll just type everything in. I won't install yet. This is option 1, install the desktop using Calamares. I want to show in this video option 2, install the desktop using our scripts. So basically all you need to do is click install, done. That's option 1. Going to go back. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, right? Nothing here, nothing here. I am deciding not to use Calamize to install the desktop. That's option 2. And just go through the motions and just get rid of all these screens. Say, whatever, I'll install later on, decide later on what I install. And this will give you the most minimal setup possible. And let's install. So it means you did not select anything ArcoLinux like, but there will be of course some packages, some ArcoLinux packages that you just need to have a beautiful operating system. But even those, maybe if you want, you can get rid of them. One example would be this wallpaper, right? ArcoLinux wallpaper kit. If we wouldn't install ArcoLinux wallpaper kit, you wouldn't have this nice background, and it would be an ugly, think bluish, dark bluish kind of look, which is not nice. And first looks, it's important. So while that's installing, what can I say more? We can have a look. We can have a look. So what we'll do later on, navigate to github.com ArcoLinuxD. 20 desktops to choose from. 20 GitHubs with all the scripts you need to have, for example, Openbox, Arco Openbox. And what it does, and don't look at the date, it will just work. It's just a way to say sudo pacman -s litm. What should I change? Into 2 years time, nothing. It's still sudo pacman -s litm, right? So display manager and the desktop will be installed with this one. That's the important one. Let's have a look. You can change these scripts. Please do. We've put a lot of work in it, and if you can spare some time and hours of work, great. It is just a list of packages, and what it'll do is say sudo pacman -s litm, litm GTK greeter, and so on and so on and so on. Basically, it's a list that it loops and it installs. Function install. What's the function install? Here. What does it do? It does sudo pacman -s no confirm, so no yes, and needed. If it's already there, if you want to rerun it, for example, the script will just jump it. So basically, it's just a list of packages in here that's going to be installed. You know the shell, where shell is and what shell does. So we're copying all the files and folders from etc shell to root. And enabling litm, that's a choice, right? We decide for you, and that's of course maybe wrong, right? Maybe you would like to have GDM. So it's all a matter of changing texts. LightM becomes GDM, but then you need to enable GDM service, right? So it's a fun experiment if you have the time, of course. It's always a lot of time to look at all these code, all the code, and change it the way you'll see it fit. You see fit. Here you are. Almost lost it. Oh, sorry. So all the rest, yeah, sound, Bluetooth, you want Bluetooth? No, don't have Bluetooth. Don't run 130, no packages installed. Printers, the same, and so on and so on. Here it becomes interesting in the sense that this is pretty much still ArcoLinux, and this will provide 500 and 600 more the soul of ArcoLinux. The years of work that went to making all these packages, right? All these packages will be installed, and the configuration of Openbox and so on, the themes in there, the Tin2 themes, lots of things that were made during all these years are all installed, and it becomes more an ArcoLinux rather than an ArcoLinux installation. And then the fonts and the conky. So it's basically run the scripts, and if you don't like the scripts, adapt the scripts and put it on the GitHub and download it from your GitHub and then install it. So it's super freedom in a sense. You decide what you put on your machine. So let's have a look. We have now a minimal machine. We are now, let's go here as well. So option 1, okay, just click, 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 and you have something, right? And here it says option 2, installing the desktop scripts. It says to mirror, to update, and to git clone. So let's do that. It says to mirror, and it says to update. That's gonna take a little bit longer. 390 megabytes, we're happy, that's not too much. For any newcomers to Arch Linux, it's not that normal that we have lots and lots of updates all the time, right? We get a lot of Linux updates, and in that sense, let's tell you a tip. See a Linux update, reboot. And here it is, updating Linux init cpios, you see it there. And the init RAM file system is updated, and later on the fallback is updated. And it takes time, as much time as it needs. And we'll just wait till he creates this particular image. And that's how you keep your system up to date, right? And update is just an alias. It's not something you can use in phase 5, Arch Linux. What am I talking about? We have divided ArcoLinux project into learning phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5. Phase 5 is not using ArcoLinux ISO, but using Arch Linux ISO. Deciding if you have an old machine, deciding if you have a new machine, go to the phases. After Phase 3, decide what desktop to install. And have fun with Arch Linux. And at some point in time you say, I'm missing this and I'm missing that. You can spice up Arch Linux. You can actually say to the system, never mind Arch Linux, I want to have the packages from ArcoLinux, right? And install the spices. So all these articles are about installing Arch Linux and then making it actually an ArcoLinux. So that's also a nice project to do. And in the meantime, it's gonna be ready to sudo reboot. SR or sudo reboot in phase 5 in Arch Linux. SR does not work, update does not work. You need to know what alias is, what it stands for, right? You need to know the proper commands. So alias, SR, alias, update, remember the real thing. It's fun to have an alias, but remember the real thing when you go to phase 5 Arch Linux. So, well, next thing up is git clone. We did an update, we even rebooted, and you see the kernel there, line 3598, that's correct. Then we go to get our scripts. You have, or you create your own github.com. We have ArcoLinuxD, where everything is. And then you decide to have XFCE, you decide to have DWM, you decide to have Openbox, right? CD, Openbox, ls. And basically now it's up to you. So like I said, let's run a little bit more applications, more scripts. But 100 is what we have here. And you see here the line created symlink. LightEM service. You see the line there in white at the bottom. We could try and see what we get now. It depends what desktop you choose. But if we end up in a TTY again, so be it, right? If we end something unusual, well, we go back to the TTY and we run more scripts, more numbers. And it's actually just from 100 till 800. So LightEM is enabled, great. Openbox is installed, also great. And then we see this. So okay, that's a strange look, that's normal, right? We have to update ArcoLinux. Okay, auto start, quit, don't want to see this anymore. Right mouse click. All right. So this is what we have when we do this. Can we have a super shift enter? We have a super shift enter, which means the file manager. But I'm a keyboard short. I always use my keyboard shortcuts. So that's the only thing we've done, and it's interesting to see what we already have. But lots of things you can open up. So Genie's here, so that's cool. But maybe you don't like that particular editor, but it's there. You can read it. Firefox, Sublime Text, Flameshot, Melt. Okay, I would like to have all that software. Fine. 100. And off we go. And we install more and more stuff. We can put this guy here, but it's not XFCE. We can't just do it half. But Super 4 does. And Super 6 does. And the 4 and the 6 are on the numeric keypad. So you must have a separate keypad for it. So that's that. We have number 110. And we can keep on going, but I'm gonna skip a few of these guys. Let's do 200. Atom is going to be installed. So basically open it up again. Sublime Text is here, so I can use Sublime Text this time. So we're installing Variety, that's a list for the development category. Melt and so on here, and graphics, GIMP, Escape and Nomax, and Chromium Internet, fine. VLC is there, I can play something. I have an ArcGTK theme, that's cool, and so on, right? Let's keep you open. And then we're going to skip this one as well. Let's see, Atom is in the meantime there. So it's going to install Minstick, which is actually our USB burner. That's what we use, is coming from Linux Mint. The Linux world is bigger than we think. Downgrade Inks BAMAC AOR goes in here. What else? We want to have here Git ahead, which is one of our tools, workflow. Right mouse click, open with Git ahead. It's still possible. Git ahead is in here in the 400. So let's get Git ahead. Right mouse click, Git ahead. Always choose white, but now I can see what I've changed during the years. Every commit that I've done to the GitHub, I can just navigate to it and see it. Git ahead. Right mouse click on a Git, Control H. This has to be here, the .git, the hidden file, hidden folder, Control H, Control H. Right, let's get the soul of ArcoLinux in. 500 and 600. That's what we're talking about when we say the soul. And then 600. This only ArcoLinux stuff. Some of them are already installed, so he's gonna skip it. And others still need to be installed. And everything is copy pasted to Skel. You see here, there's a Skel. It has been done. And for the rest, yeah, conkeys are, in my eyes, not very necessary. There's so many other things. But if you want it, you install it. Some fonts maybe you want to install. Fonts make up a beautiful desktop, simple as that. Choosing a font actually changes your complete setup. But hey, try it out. And 800 if you want it. I'm gonna sudo reboot, otherwise the video will become too long. You can run scripts. Let's have a look how it looks now. What have we done? What did we change? What happened to it? And now the look is like this. oh yeah, definitely different. This was not the look, the border here was not correct, and now everything looks more like ArcoLinux with all the, well, more applications. We have installed more applications, which means it becomes just bigger. The bit between this and this stays the same, it's always the same, that's always the same. But if you did not install the conkeys, right, you see this, right? It's all about what Lego box will you install, and that's entirely up to you, and that's the fun. All right, that concludes my video. Have fun with ArcoLinux. Cheers.